Hey home bakers, we're kicking off this year a little bit late with something super practical that you can do on the top of any tinned loaf, because finishing it off with a nice design that you've really put some thought into and carved on the top is a really lovely touch, and following a few basic principles is probably easier than what you think. Roll that theme tune! Before we begin, I'd like to say a massive, gigantic thank you to everybody who's come and joined me recently on Patreon. You are keeping Bake with Jack alive, and I thank you very, very much. Cut to the table. Here, I've made 2 loaves with a straight yeasted bread dough, not unlike your go-to weekly bread recipe. I've puffed it up almost to its full potential. It's important to have a little bit of bounce left inside of your dough, a little bit of tension, because if you take it up too far, it might get quite delicate and you're at risk of collapsing on the slightest touch of a sharp blade. The first thing to do is to dust it well with flour, because that way your design will show up nicely against the white background. I use this teeny tiny sieve for this that I really like. It's really pleasing, and do my best to create an even layer of snow on the top, not too thick. Some people spritz or brush the top of their dough with water to make sure it sticks, and if your dough is a little bit dry on top, do that. Make sure you have a sharp grignette for this bit. It will help you to get a clean cut with minimum drag, and all in all, it's much less clumsy than a knife. We're trying to make a nice looking loaf here, doing our best to control in some part that oven spring, redirecting the increase in volume to the right places. Our dough isn't fully puffed up yet, and in any case, I'm expecting when it goes into the oven, some kind of oven spring, some increase in volume. It's our job, if we are to make a nice design, to redirect that increase in volume to the right places and keep our design intact. That big puff that normally happens in the first 8 to 10 minutes of baking might cause our loaf to bust open somewhere. So the best thing to do is to start off with a big cut, because if it's going to bust anywhere, it's going to bust there. If that happens, it will still look quite appealing and leave the rest of our design intact. So then, the first cut on this first loaf is a long one from end to end in pretty much a straight line. Don't feel like you need to curve the cut too much to get a curved cut. The straight line will open in a curved way because of the structure of the loaf. And if you overcompensate, you'll get this kind of weird looking smiley face on top. Next, some medium cuts on that plain side, and now each side of those a row of diagonal cuts, even smaller than that one. This will give us some of those nice head of a wheat looking designs when they open up. Here's how it looks when it's done. For the second one, I'm using exactly the same principle, a long cut end to end, although this time I'll do it in a nice big S shape. It's a new design, but the principle is the same and it serves the same purpose. Now we have 2 sections to play with. I opted for small cuts in rows, exactly the same, minus that medium stem cut in the middle. If you want to, you can let these puff up a little bit longer here. Remember, these aren't puffed up to their full potential, and if you want to, you can leave it a little bit longer here. But for me, I spent plenty of time faffing about with the camera. By the time I was done messing around, mine are pretty much good to go. It's interesting in class when we do things like this. I will do one of my own and say, this is how I do it, this is what the principles are. And then I say to everybody else, go and do your own. Don't feel like you've got to do the same as me. Go and do your own thing and freestyle. Some people take a blade and they go to town. They're like, yeah, and they just go for it. Other people are worried and they need some time to think and plan what they're going to do, so much that they completely stall in worry and fear of what might go on and totally cease to function. Then at the last minute, they kind of throw something together quickly and they're not quite happy and disappointed with the result. If that's you, I understand that. Remember, you've got plenty of time while your dough's proving up. Get yourself a pencil and a piece of paper and draw some designs on there and see what you come up with. Then you're pre-prepared before you commit. And here's how they came out. Those straight cuts open up and make these kind of oval eye shapes that look so nice. I've kept both of these versions on the same theme to best illustrate the principles, but hey, so long as you make one big cut to start with, that's your safety net. Then go to town, get creative, come up with your own designs and signature loaf. It's lovely to give a loaf of bread to a neighbour, but imagine giving them something presented so nicely. It would blow their minds. Something so simple presented in a new and quite striking and different way. Hey, I hope you got some value out of this video, and tell me, what would you like to see on this channel this year? What would be the most helpful thing for you? Write in the comments box. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.